Welcome to our Python tutorial on variables and data types. This video is for beginners, or for people who want to refresh their knowledge about variables and data types. In this video, we will try to understand Python variables and data types, and we will learn to practically use them in our Python code. Think of variables as lockers in your bank. Each locker is labeled with a name, in this case the name of variable. So, our first variable is employee name. In Python, if your variable name is composed of two words, it is recommended to use underscore between them, the only symbol you can use in variable names. Then we have the value stored in variable, which in this case is Alice. And finally we have the data type. Alice is a string, therefore employee name variable has string data type. Other data types include boolean, where value can either be true or false. Date and time, which is used to store dates, such as date of birth. Floats, which are used to store numbers with decimals such as height. Integers, which are used to store numbers without decimals such as salary. This is a larger list of data types which are used in Python, with description and examples. An integer is a number without decimal points. It can be positive, negative, or zero. When a number has decimal points, the float data type is used. Any sequence of characters is called string, and it is normally created within single or double inverted commas. When your variable has either true or false values, it has Boolean data type. Lists are ordered, mutable sequence of items, which accept duplicate values, and can be accessed using index. Mutable means you can change the items at a later stage. Tuples are ordered, immutable sequence of items, which accept duplicate values, and can be accessed using index. Immutable means you can't change the items at a later stage. The difference between lists and tuples is that lists can be changed after creation, and tuples cannot. Sets are unordered collection of unique items, which do not accept duplicate values, and cannot be accessed using index, making them different from both lists and tuples. Dictionaries are unordered collection of key-value pairs, with each value having its own key. You can access any value, using their key. Dictionaries are also mutable, and you can change any value, using their key. When a variable has no value, it has none data type. You can change the data type of any variable to none, by changing their value to none. Bytes and byte arrays are used to store binary data. One is immutable and thus cannot be changed, and the other is mutable. Now, let's go to the Visual Studio Code and create a new Python file in it. Then save this file somewhere in your computer. It's time to create all those variables and practically work with data types in Python. First, let's create a variable, name, and add Alice to it. This is a string data type. You can confirm this by using the type function. This function lets you know the data type of a variable. Now, execute this code, and it will give you the data type of this variable. In Python, data types are determined in runtime dynamically. It is called dynamic typing. And due to this reason, we can change the variable type at any time. If we enter a number here, it will change the data type of this variable to integer, although originally it was a string. Now let's create some other variables. The data type of age variable is integer. The variable gender is a string. You can define string in both single or double inverted commas. Married can be either true or false, therefore it is a Boolean variable. If salary has no decimal points, as in this case, it will be an integer, otherwise it can be a float as well. Height has decimal points, therefore it is a float variable. Now we will create a datetime variable for date of birth. However, we cannot use datetime unless we import the datetime library. We can import the datetime library anywhere before we use it. Because Python reads and executes code, line by line, therefore library must be imported before it is used. Although we can import library here, it is recommended to write all import codes at the start of the program. And now we can create a date-time variable and define a date for date of birth. We will provide year, month, and day in that order. And now date of birth variable is created with a valid date. Now, let's create some collection variables. List is created using the square brackets. Sets are created using curly brackets. And tuples are created using parentheses. As already discussed, lists are mutable, which means we can make changes to them. Let's print fruits list before changes, and then change the first item in the list. And then we will print the list again, to see the difference. Let's run this code. As you can see, the list has been changed, and the first item has been changed from apples to unknown. However, if we do the same to sets, it won't work, because the sets are immutable. And in the same way, tuples are also immutable, therefore an attempt to modify tuples will also result in an error. Then there are dictionaries. Data is stored in dictionaries, in key-value pair. Let's create a dictionary named employee data, and add employee name into this dictionary. This is the key for employee name. And this is the value. Let's print this dictionary. Let's run this code to print the dictionary. And here is the result. Alice is a string that we entered as value, but we can use a variable as well. We have a variable, name, which already contains employee name. And as you can see, you can use variable in dictionaries as well. In the same way, we can add all variables from above data into employee data dictionary. And here is the print output of our dictionary variable. You can store any data type in dictionaries, which means you can also store lists, tuples, and sets. So let's add those collections into our dictionary as well. And now when we will run this code, it will print all dictionary items, including that list, set, and tuple. Since our dictionary is taking data from variables, if we change a variable before it is used in the dictionary, the value in dictionary will also change. But if we make the same change after the variable has already been used in the dictionary, the value will not change in the dictionary. We can change a value directly in the dictionary, using its key. And since we made no change to the variable, the name in variable is still Alice, although the same has been changed into Sarah in dictionary. And finally, bytes and byte arrays. This is how we define a byte, to store binary data. As you can see, its data type is byte. We can simply use the byte array function to convert a byte into byte array. And as you can see, this is a byte array. There are naming conventions that must be followed in Python while creating variables. A variable name should be understandable. Name, age, gender, etc. all explain themselves, but A, B, C, X, Y, Z don't, and should be avoided. If a variable name consists of two words, both should be separated by underscore, the only symbol you can use while naming variables. You can use a number in variable name in the middle or at the end, but not at the start. Variable names are case sensitive, therefore, name with small n and with capital N are two different variables. To avoid confusion and problems due to case sensitivity, you must use only small letters while naming variables. And finally, there are some functions associated with variables, which are often needed while working with variables. ID is one of them, which is used to get the unique ID of an object. As you can see, both variables have different IDs. Another function is type, which we have already used during this tutorial many times. So, that's about it. And now, we end this tutorial. and hope that it helps you understand the basics of variables and data types in Python. See you in our next video. Have a nice day.